This is 1 silver. If I can double this every day for 20 days, I'd be a millionaire in Pywel. The real question is, how many days in a row can I actually keep the streak alive? From fishing and mining to high-stakes gambling and crafting gold bars, every single day I must find a new way to double my silver. But there's a catch. Rule number 1. Rest is mandatory. I have to sleep 6 hours every night. Rule number 2. Fast travel is disabled. So instead, I'm allowed to unlock one helpful item each day, like a horse or a fishing rod, to help me hit my goal. Rule number 3. No repeats. If I gamble to double my silver today, I can never gamble again. No crime, no repeats. If I fail to double my money just once, the challenge ends. To make it worse, I'm starting with nothing. I first threw everything I had into the storage. Then, I forgot I had my gear on, so I unequipped everything and threw that in too. I withdrew 1 silver and started the challenge. Now, if I'm going to start the challenge from nothing, I wanted to start it the right way. When I first arrived in Pywel, no one knew my name. I was just another face passing through. But I remember how I got the first taste of this world. The very first thing Pywel made me do was sit down at an arm wrestling table and prove myself. That's how things worked here. If you wanted people to know who you are, you had to earn it. So I decided that's where I start. The rules are simple. You pay an entry fee. You win, you get paid. You lose, you walk away with nothing. With only 1 silver to my name, losing wasn't really an option. I went up against 3 randoms first, and I won all 3. Then came the champion.
This is a bit shite.
To me, he was just as easy as the previous 3, and just like that, I was sitting on 2 silver. Day 1 was done, but it was only 8 AM. I still had the whole day and nothing to do, so I took a walk around camp. I picked up a free bow and some arrows that were lying around not far from camp. And then, I remember hearing about the legendary Phoenix. If I was going to survive whatever this challenge was going to throw at me, I didn't want to do it alone. And if it was going to have a companion, it was going to be a legendary one. So I made up my mind. The rest of the day belonged to the Phoenix. Rumors had it that the Phoenix lived deep in the Crimson Desert, so I started walking. Early into the journey, I found some horses out in the open. I thought it would help me reach the Phoenix quicker, so I tamed one and decided to register it. But something went wrong. I was stuck in darkness. When I woke up, I was back at camp. Maybe I fainted and was brought back by a Samaritan? I had no time to find out. I headed right back out. I found more horses and tamed another one. This time, I didn't register the horse. That meant if I lost it, there was no way to get it back. But I wasn't gonna risk blacking out again. On this horse, I made it to the Crimson Desert, but then a group of guards started attacking me and knocked me off my horse. My gear was still too weak to fight back, so I ran away as fast as I could. I was injured and exhausted, and the sun felt hotter than it should be. Maybe it was just me, and the whole time, one thought was bothering me. What if the Phoenix isn't even real? But I kept pushing and pushing. I was traveling for 6 hours now. I was about to give up, and then I saw it. Way off in the distance, the massive bird just gliding through the desert sky. The legend was real. I climbed the nearest cliff. I wanted to be above it for the perfect shot. But when I reached the top, it vanished. I ran in circles searching for it and found nothing. I came back to the cliff where I first spotted the Phoenix, and I took another glance down, and it was right there below my feet. I jumped off the cliff, glided towards it, trying to predict its path. I got ahead of it, lined up the shot, and dropped it in 1 arrow. I skinned it, and it gave me a phoenix feather. I went to the witch living out in the desert and handed it over. She turned it into a sigil, and I had a companion. The trip back to camp was a lot less lonely than the trip out. Along the way, I mined some minerals to upgrade my gear and skinned some animals for cooking ingredients. When I finally got back to camp, I cooked up some meals for the days ahead and went to bed. Day 2. My goal is 4 silver. And I have a plan to get there, but first, I need to use my daily unlock. Yesterday, I learned the hard way that registering riding a wild horse gives me a blackout, so I'm not taking that risk again. So for today's item, I'm choosing a horse. Ironically, I'll be selling horses to reach my goal today. I went over to the area where I found horses yesterday, and I found my first target and tamed it. Then, I hesitated. I didn't want to black out again. So if I choose to register and send this horse to the stable, will I still black out? If so, I needed a different plan for today. I held my breath and selected register and send to stable. Thank God, no blackout. Now I can sell 2 horses and call it a day. But these easy days won't last for long, so I needed to prepare for the harder days. I headed to the tailor and dropped 1 silver on some boots. I was down to 1.24 silver. I went back to work. Taming in Pywel isn't exactly a walk in the park, but one by one, I sent them off. Each horse was worth 1 silver at the stable, so I sold 3 of them. 4.24 silver. I still had plenty of daylight left, so I spent the evenings preparing for the future. I found a pickaxe laying around, so I picked it up and mined some minerals for weapon upgrades and gathered timber for my shield. I was hoping to find some fine timber, but I didn't have the right tools for it yet. It was already time for bed. Today is day 3, and today's goal is 8 silver. Yesterday, I was worried about blacking out. Today, I'm more worried about gear. On the first day, I had no choice but to run away when I was in danger. I wanted to change that. My shield was still too weak, and I needed fine timber to upgrade it. So today's item is the chainsaw. And today, we're going logging. I thought this would be a shortcut to fine timber, but the results were unexpected. Instead of fine timber, it was spitting out flawless timber, which didn't help with upgrading my shield, but was worth much more than any other type of timber. I sold enough flawless timber to hit 7.14 silver, just under my goal, and immediately pivoted into gear. I bought the Grey Wolf leather armor, which dropped me back down to almost nothing. I went back to the woods and repeated the cycle. Log, sell, and buy more gear until I had the Grey Wolf cloak and gloves. By the time I was done, I was back down to almost nothing, but I was getting geared up. I eventually put the chainsaw away and went back to the basics with the axe. Finally, I found the fine timber I needed. I upgraded my shield, beefed up my bow, and cooked up some braised meat with all the apples I picked while logging. If I ever had to fight guards again, I wanted to be ready. It was still only noon, and I still wanted to be more prepared. I went chasing for an artifact to upgrade my gear, with a mission to capture 3 choppies. Choppies only live in the abyss, but for the reward, I would get an artifact and a gear piece that increases all silver gained by 10%. It was perfect for this challenge. I remember a hidden wall at Hernan Castle that led straight to the abyss. To my surprise, the gates were still open. I headed in, caught 3 choppies, and made Henglang my companion while I was up here and headed back to camp. I really wanted to activate this abyss gear right away, but the witch asked for 5 silver to open the socket. I was already over my goal and couldn't earn more silver today, so I decided to come back tomorrow. Today, I went to bed feeling confident. Today is day 4, and my goal is 16 silver, and to hit it, I'm going under. Today's unlock is the mining knuckle drill. This thing makes a standard pickaxe look like a toy. It guarantees a massive increase in mineral yields. In fact, it's so efficient, I sold my old pickaxe on the spot. I headed straight to the diamond cave right next to camp and got to work. After a few hours of gathering minerals, I finally remembered that I wanted to create a socket yesterday. So I headed to the witch and paid her 5 silver. I opened up the socket and embedded my abyss gear. Then, I sold just enough azurites to bring my balance to 15.23 silver, just shy of the goal. If something I needed pops up, I can buy it, then sell more minerals to hit the goal later. With the whole afternoon ahead of me, I decided to tackle the Harmonious Hooves Ford challenge. Ride from Sunset Valley to Varnia in under 40 minutes real time. That's essentially a trip across the entire continent of Pywel. The first half was peaceful. Then I hit the desert. Bandits with rifles were trying to take me down. I tapped into my inner PUBG player and started zigzagging like a maniac. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. I made it to Varnia and secured another artifact. On the way home, a woman stopped me, crying that her husband had been kidnapped. I went to help, but it was a trap. A group of bandits jumped me. It was a nice chance to try out my upgraded gear. It was an easy fight. I came back to camp and I sold 1 final azurite to tip me over 16.18 silver. My goal was met for today. Day 5, and the goal is 32 silver. Today, I'm picking flowers to reach my goal. So today's item is the magic scythe. I can swing this thing and it harvests everything it touches. The plan is simple. I head to an area full of parma leaves worth 1.52 silver each and sweep through with the scythe. But nothing happened. The magic scythe, the very item I chose for today, doesn't work on parma leaves. It was too late to come up with another plan, so I started plucking by hand. It was a grind, but because these leaves were worth so much, it didn't take too long to hit my goal. Once I hit my goal for today, I decided to give myself a break and visit the circus. I had a good time, and I even window shopped at the tailor. She was selling all sorts of hats and helmets. Now on the way back, I scouted for tomorrow's route. I was going to sell wagons at the black market, and I wanted to know exactly where these wagons would be located before I find them under pressure tomorrow. When it got dark, I headed back to camp to sleep. Today is day 6, and the goal for today is 64 silver. Yesterday, at the circus, I realized I was missing a headpiece. So for today's unlock, I'm going with the Pirate King's hat. My plan to hit 64 silver today is to steal wagons and flip them at the black market. Now stealing sounds like a crime, but in Pywel, if you take it from the bandits, it doesn't count against your record. It's basically community service that pays. It didn't take long until I spotted the first wagon. I killed all the bandits and started driving. Every few hundred meters, I had to hop off to defend the wagon. Then I saw another group of bandits ahead, so I jumped off, imbued my sword with the fire element, and attacked. But I also swung at my wagon. It was too close. I watched my wagon turn into ashes. I had to find another wagon and was super careful this time. I delivered 2 wagons back to back for 12.5 silver each. I was now sitting on 58 silver. Close, but I didn't want to drive wagons anymore. I found a horse black market vendor who actually paid more than the stables. I sold 3 horses to get me to 63.46 silver. Still, about half a silver short. I spotted a fox nearby, picked it up, and ran it to the livestock dealer. He paid 80 copper. It wasn't much, but it was enough. 64.26 silver. Goal met. I pushed myself hard for the last few days, and with the goal secured early, I'm taking a 12-hour sleep. Tomorrow, we're finally hitting triple-digit territory. Ooh, day 7. The goal has officially hit triple digits. 128 silver. To pull this off, I'm picking up the Claw, an automatic fishing reel. If I'm going to fish all day, I needed one. I first started at a river nearby, but there were too many rocks. I headed south to the nearest ocean. I was catching some nice fish, but these were only 1 or 2 silver at most. I needed to go bigger. According to my knowledge book, there are 5 legendary fish in Pywel. I don't know exactly how much I can sell these for, but I decided to catch all of them. One by one, they put up a fight, but the Claw was strong. I was at my last legendary fish location. It was dark and started to rain. I couldn't locate the fish. The pond was too big. I became desperate and jumped in the water. Still nothing. Then the rain stopped, so I climbed above the pond and took a look from above. Then I saw it. I dove right in and grabbed it. I finally had all 5 fish. I ran to the fish vendor as fast as I could, and I realized I only needed 2 legendary fish to hit my goal today. I decided to keep the remaining 3. It was getting late, so I found a bed in town and fell asleep right away. Today is day 8, and the goal is 256 silver. Because I didn't make it back to my main camp last night, I don't get a daily item. But that was okay. I felt pretty prepared for anything by now. Today, I'm going to be hunting down outlaws and turning them in for their bounties. I went through my outlaw poster collection and found Giovanni, a high-value outlaw with a 35 silver bounty. When I arrived at his hideout, he was guarded, so I lured him away and tackled him. I tossed him on my horse, then I spotted Duran nearby, worth another 20 silver. I grabbed him too. I rode toward a prison. I wasn't familiar with this town, so I put on my disguise so the guards wouldn't be suspicious. They still stopped me to check, and just like that, while the guards were checking me, both outlaws ran off. I realized too late that the prison was right there, on the left side of the gate. I didn't even need to go inside. 55 silver, gone, right in front of my face. I hurried back through my collection. I found Zelia and Sigor, both 10 and 15 silver each. Not great, but beggars can't be choosers. I noticed 2 pickpockets roaming around the town. I didn't even check their bounty, and I just captured them and turned them in. It netted me 14 silver. Progress was feeling slow. I wanted a high-value outlaw like Giovanni, and then I found Zahir's poster, worth a massive 60 silver. I paired him up with Brol, an outlaw also wanted in the Crimson Desert. He was worth another 10 silver. I delivered them both and checked my balance. Would you look at that? 256.38 silver. Day 8 was officially complete. Today is day 9, and the goal is 512 silver, and the scale of this challenge was starting to get real. For today's unlock, I'm picking the Deceiver's Fedora. I don't need it for today, but with goals doubling every night, I might not make it back to camp tomorrow, so I better grab it now. My strategy? Clear out bandit camps and sell the loot. I started by liquidating every piece of junk I'd been carrying since day 1. It gave me a boost. I cleared up some camps in the Crimson Desert, then I headed to Tommaso to sell them. On the way, my horse suddenly freaked out and threw me off. I accidentally wandered into a boss's territory and my horse caught on fire. I steered clear of the center, looped around, and limped into Tommaso. After selling my first haul, I was at 473 silver. I healed my horse and headed back out. I thought it would be an easy finish, but I was wrong. In the next camp I raided, I was ambushed by Samara the Sand Watcher. Soldiers with flamethrowers were pinning me down while Samara kept me distracted. I was losing HP fast, but I stayed calm. I had upgraded gear and most importantly, I had food. The boss eventually fled. I cleared out some of the guards and chased her down again, and this time she couldn't run away. I cleared the rest of the camp, I sold everything, and I crossed 512 silver. On the ride home, my horse took a bad fall off a cliff and couldn't run anymore. I panicked, looking for a stable. I couldn't find one on the map that was close enough for me to run. I found a saddler, and I just hoped she had some potions to heal my horse. When I arrived, to my surprise, there was a stable. I was able to heal my horse. I made it back to camp and even had time to read a book before bed. Today is day 10, and we're halfway there to becoming a millionaire. The goal is 1,024 silver. That means I need to find over 500 silver in a single day. On the long ride back to camp yesterday, I was stressing. The only thing worth that much that I could think of was a gold bar, exactly 500 silver. But I'm saving crafting gold bars for a later day, since I can't use the same method twice. But then, it hit me. I can get a gold bar a completely different way. Today's unlock is the Great Thief's Gloves. Normally, pickpocketing is a serious crime in Crimson Desert, but these gloves let me take one item without triggering a crime. I headed straight to the animal park where the wealthiest nobles in Pywel spend their time. I pulled out my lantern and started scanning pockets, but something was off. Most of the nobles were only carrying copper. I guess word got around that there were a lot of pickpockets at this park, but I didn't give up. After a lot of searching, I finally found this beautiful person. I put my mask on and I tightened my gloves, and I made my move. I bumped into her and walked away with the gold bar. Nobody noticed. No crime triggered. I rushed to the bank and exchanged the bar for 500 silver. Sold a few leftover spoils to close the final gap. 1,024 silver, day 10 was done. Tomorrow, I was going to gamble, and there's no way to know what time it is when you're inside a gambling house. I wanted to start as early as possible, so I decided to sleep in Tommaso. Day 11. The goal now is 2,048 silver. To hit this, I have to step into the Lion's Den, the gambling houses of Tommaso. These tables have the highest stakes in all of Pywel, with a massive 300 silver entry fee, just to see a hand. I walked in ready to play, but there was only one opponent at the table. If I wanted to double my money, I needed a full house. One person wasn't enough. I took a walk around town hoping the tables would fill up. Perfect, a full table. The first round was quiet, but the second, things got ugly. The guy in front of me tried to cheat, and I caught him in the act, and his hand was gone, and his silver was split between the rest of us. My 300 silver jumped to 401. A few rounds later, it happened again. Another cheater caught, and I was sitting on 623 silver. I cashed out. I took another walk and waited for new players. When I returned, I sat back down. After catching one more cheater, it was just me and one high roller. He had more silver than me, so he was playing it safe. That's when I decided to use my secret weapon, the Deceiver's Fedora. With this hat, I can see exactly what's in his hand. I kept playing with this hat, and as I started closing the gap, he got desperate. He tried to cheat to save his stack, and I caught him red-handed and swept the table. I walked away with over 2,000 silver, only 43 silver away from the goal. One last session, 3 new players, and no more drama. I was very unlucky, so even with my fedora, I was still losing silver, but finally, I hit a big 84 silver pot that pushed me to 2,059 silver. I was done for the day. On the way out, I noticed myself planning more for tomorrow when I had time left in the day. Tomorrow, I was planning on gathering brimstone to start crafting gold bars, and I remembered at the circus, there was a tailor selling brimstone gas masks. So I made a visit and purchased the helmet. Since I already had what I needed for tomorrow, I decided not to go back to camp. I decided to sleep in Tariv, which was close to the brimstones. Wow, we made it to day 12, and the goal for today is 4,096 silver. To find 2,000 more silver in a single day, I'm turning to alchemy. The plan? Craft 4 gold bars and exchange them at the bank. First, I needed the raw materials, so I headed to the volcanic vents and put my gas mask to gather brimstone. Each node had 3 holes spitting toxic gas, so I had to get creative. I plugged 2 of the vents using the healing force palm and harvested through the remaining one. Then, I tracked down some mercury ponds, froze them bit by bit, and collected the solid mercury. Finally, I found the gold mine and pulled everything I needed. Then, I reached the witch's hut to craft the bars. That's when I saw it. The recipe for a gold bar isn't brimstone, mercury, and gold ore. It's brimstone, mercury, and silver. I don't know why I got this mixed up. I desperately searched for a silver nearby, mined as much as I could, and rushed back to the witch to finally craft my 4 gold bars. As I was leaving the hut, I realized this hut was sitting on a blood-red pond. I couldn't resist a few casts. I caught a few northern pikes and started to think maybe only northern pikes live in this pond. But then, I felt a really strong tug. This was different than the previous tugs. And after a long battle, I caught an electric eel. I got so excited that I completely lost track of time. It was already 8 p.m. I sprinted back to the bank in Payloon and exchanged my gold bars. I was at 4,050 silver, still 46 short. I sold the eel and cleared out the rest of my smaller catches, but I still had to sell some spoils from previous days to finally get past 4,096 silver. Day 12 was done. Today is day 13, and this is definitely getting harder. The goal is 8,192 silver, and to hit it, I'm going to craft more gold bars. I know. I've already used this method, but there's another way to craft them, and it's to use completely different materials. Golden apples instead of brimstone. Today's destination was Delicia, so I had to ride across the whole continent. Golden apple hedgehogs are hiding in the flax fields out there. I disturbed the fields to flush the animals out. Of these animals, I'm looking for the golden apple hedgehogs. Whenever I saw one, I shot them down and collected their golden apples. Once I had 8 of them, I headed to the witch at Serpent Marsh. On the way, I spotted a puzzle in some ruins. I know I already had 4,000 silver already, but I was not going to pass up a free artifact. I solved the puzzle and got back on the road. I reached the witch, crafted the bars, and made the trip to the bank. After exchanging and selling off some miscellaneous items, my balance hit 8,136 silver. Still a bit short. I needed a high payout task to bridge the gap. So I decided to pay some old friends a visit, Giovanni and Duran. Remember when I lost them right in front of my face at day 8? Not this time. I captured both, avoided the main gate, and delivered them straight to their cells. 8,191.77 silver. Still less than 1 silver away from my goal. I've been carrying timber in my inventory since day 1, so I sold some of it at the tavern nearby. 8,192 silver and 1 copper. I found a house nearby, collapsed into bed, and called it a day. Day 14. The goal is 16,384 silver. I woke up and looked at that number and I realized I was out of plans. And I was out of unique methods. I told myself, forget the rules, today isn't about doubling anymore. It's about total mayhem. I'm going to fast travel, there's no more rules, whatever it takes, I'm just going to try to earn as much silver as I can. I started by burning through my entire stockpile. I still had gold ore, golden apples, mercury, brimstone, so I calculated how many more materials I would need to exhaust my remaining materials. I mined more gold, harvested more golden apples, and I crafted as many gold bars as I could by squeezing everything out. Thanks to the crafting buff I didn't even know I had, I squeezed out 2 extra bars I wasn't expecting. I cashed them all in, but I still needed more. I committed my first real crime, which was stealing a peddler's pack. I transformed it into a cuckoo gatherings pack and sucked in all the parma leaves that I had to pick by hand on day 5. I sold the leaves for over 2,600 silver. I sold my remaining legendary fish at full price. I sold everything I had left, and when the dust settled, I was holding 39,493 silver. Over 31,000 silver in a single day. I had so much money, I didn't even know what to do with it. So I went to the beggar's camp and started handing it all out. For the first 13 days, when I restricted myself to no fast travel, I actually saw Pywel. Because I wasn't rushing, I had the time to take in the views. I discovered hidden puzzles, picked up sealed artifacts, and truly enjoyed the world around me. I was relaxed and I was having fun. But on day 14 in the Mayhem, I forgot to sit back. I was so focused on the silver that I stopped seeing the game entirely. I was calculating everything, trying to find the most efficient paths. I wasn't having fun anymore. I was anxious. I was panicky. I was just chasing a number. Money is nice. It buys the gear, the upgrades, and the fame. But if money is the only thing you're chasing, you might just lose everything else around it.